right, great. Um, I guess just to start out, overall, how has your experience been using Neighbor? And once again, feel free be as honest as you can. Good, bad, or anything in between.
I love the app. I think you guys have a really good product. I also work as a UX designer and here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I've been basically using the app for a while. Now that I work as a UX designer, I understand the features that you guys are building.
Awesome.
Um, and as well, I think there is missed opportunities um, that I always every time a person brings a car, I always feel a little bit concerned about them bringing a car that they don't own. Uh,
Mm,
I feel like there is a need for to figure out a way to basically to prove that that person owns a car. Um, because a lot of times it happens on a weekend when randomly they just want to store a car for either a couple days or a couple months, and when it's a couple months, I trust them. I kind of tells me that they own the car, and when they tell me as well the story that they own the car, they're living out of state and they don't have a place to park it, then I mean that makes sense. But when they want to store a car for a couple weeks, I feel like I don't feel like safe, to
gotcha.
be honest, to host them in basically in our space that I have. Um, as well, sometimes there's people who ask me to rent my space to do work, like a mechanic work, or to do it, or to rent a space for a couple days to uh, basically to park their items or to put their whether it's a car or just put items in the garage for a couple days. And since a neighbor there is not an option, or at least I'm not aware that there's an option uh, of just a couple days, I just tell them that I don't do that, that I just rent the neighbor monthly.
Right. So our policy is that I mean technically somebody could, if they wanted to pay the entire month um, rate, because we bill on a monthly basis. So technically, if somebody's willing to pay for the entire month, but they only actually end up using the space for a few days,
Uh-huh.
uh, I mean, I guess that's their prerogative. But honestly, it'd be kind of a waste of money for the person renting your space
Yes.
if they're gonna pay for an entire month, but they plan on only needing 3, 4, 5 days. Um, I'm interested in your experience. So there's two things that you brought up. One was just trying to better understand if the person actually owns their vehicle that they're wanting to store.
Yes.
So maybe let's start there. So have you had experiences where they flat out said, "Oh, this isn't my vehicle, but I need to store it," or is it just you're unsure if that's actually their vehicle and you don't really have a good way to prove it?
um there has been instance where they want to store the vehicle uh, for just for like 3 weeks, and
Okay.
then I hesitate to rent them to them just because either sometimes in the interactions I ask them for proof of items, whether they have the title and their ID, and sometimes they don't bring it, or sometimes they want a specific day, uh, and one day once they want that specific day, and when I tell them to meet at that place, my house. Sometimes they don't show up, and then that makes me believe that they're just not serious, or they probably don't own the car because I asked them for proof of of ownership.
Okay.
And most of the people who actually has rented a garage, the spot, they they don't hesitate to prove that they own the car. They're willing to show me their ID. They're willing to show me uh, the title of the car to make sure it's under the same name, same person.
In those cases where you ask, hey, can you just show me your proof of ownership? Is that something that you're trying to see before? So they send you a reservation request and they say, hey, these I'm interested in renting your space. Do you approve them and then say, hey, when you show up, then when you guys are coordinating when they're actually going to bring their vehicle by, do you say, hey, when you bring your vehicle by, can you also make sure to bring like proof of ownership? And that's when you're validating that, or are you trying over either the neighbor app or texting saying, hey, can you like send me a picture or something that shows proof of ownership, and then you'll approve the request.
I just requesting that when they bring the car, they show proof of ownership. Um, but sometimes via text they send me an ID of themselves. Um, or just via text also. Sometimes they send, but not always. That's like proof of ownership of the car.
Okay.
But it always just works better when they when I'm not for sure that they're gonna be renting when they're there, and I'm
Okay.
opening the garage door for them.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's really interesting. And just yeah, I'm taking notes as we're talking, so just bear with me.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. So you talked about wanting a better way to be able to see the ownership of the vehicle. Sounds like you're not super comfortable when they want to just store their vehicle for a few days or just a few weeks, um, and then also uh, when they ask to work in the space. It is our policy that they can't work in the space, so uh, they should be seeing that anyways. But people still they still end up kind of messaging our host and saying, "Hey, can I work in this space?" So that's a bit of a headache, I know, for you to have to remind them that they can't work in the space. So that's a good piece of feedback that we could probably be doing something more to help deter people from asking that, or just making them more aware that working the space is not something that's something that they can do. I want
They
to talk about. Oh, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that also maybe show somehow in the app uh, that they're not allowed to live in the space. So some people they want to rent the space. I have two spaces, a garage, and I have spaces outside. And some people want to park their trailers there, but they want to live there. And I basically that's a no for us.
Yeah. Oh, and just real quick, you said you have a garage space, and then what was the other space that you have?
Outdoor space, like it's an
Okay.
open space.
Okay. And which one of those spaces have you had more success with?
With the garage, people prefer the garage to park their cars.
Okay. Um, can you think back to the last renter you had, um, and communicating with that renter? So I guess think about when they first reached out to you and said, "Hey, I'd like to use your garage and park a vehicle." Um, and then during the time that they're actually in your garage and using or storing their vehicle to when they moved out, if you think about the communication that you had with that individual, um, what aspects of communicating worked well, and what things were less than ideal that you think could be improved upon?
Communication wise, so the I'm not sure, but I don't think neighbor has like a way to call.
Okay.
Or do
Yeah,
you?
that's we don't have that. So yeah.
Okay, so for that reason, I think that's the reason. We communicate through a phone.
Yep.
So last person who rented or our our garage. He parked his Lamborghini in the garage for maybe like 3 months, 4 months, I believe. So it's a car that costs a lot, and he all the communication happened through basically a call and text. And he seemed once I met with him and I answered him very quickly via text. Uh, I think he trusts a lot that I was willing to as well to show like my my ID and that I live there, basically proof that I live there, and was very flexible. But all the communication happened on via text and phone calls.
Okay.
Yeah, phone calls.
So obviously the initial contact happened through Neighbor.
Yes.
Uh, is that usually what you prefer? Is like pretty quickly you say, hey, here's my phone number, and like can you communicate over the phone, or has your experience been that renters say, hey, here's my phone number, can you give me a call, or is it kind of a mix of the two?
I think it's a mix. Just because when I'm at work, I try to ignore pretty much all the communications from other apps, but I don't ignore like phone calls. Like and if one of my either tenants or somebody who is renting their garage calls me that they need their car because they're outside waiting for me, so I wouldn't be able to get him to answer them via text via neighbors app. But I would definitely be available to answer via my phone just because that's the only way to reach me out.
Gotcha.
Of course, it could be different for other people, but I think combination of both works perfectly.
Okay. Okay. Um, okay. So technically we're at time. If you have a few more minutes, that'd be great. But if not, we can end here.
Sure. Yeah, we can go maybe a couple more minutes.
Okay. All right. Maybe just 5 more minutes, then we'll be done.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about pricing for your spaces. We have two pricing options. One is smart pricing, where basically we'll manage the price automatically, and so that the price of your space might go up or down automatically depending on the demand in your area. And then the other is just fixed pricing, where you say this is my rate, and it doesn't ever change unless you go back and edit your price. Do you know which one that you're using for your spaces?
Yeah, I tried the smart price, but I didn't like it because it was too low.
Okay.
So I now use I think fixed price, just because the location as well where I live, and to be honest, all the hassle. To, uh, I feel like it's a lot of responsibility just to have somebody's things in the garage. And if I would use a smart pricing, that's gonna be too low. Not even worth it. Uh,
Gotcha.
so the fixed price is better, I think.
So so it sounds like hosting is. Basically, it sounds like you've got a minimum that you're comfortable with, given the amount of work that you need to put in, and that it's your property, and the price that smart pricing is set it at is lower than what you're comfortable with. Is
Yes.
that a good way to sum it up?
Yes.
When you said smart pricing was too low, um, so the way it works is there's a basically like a current market price that gets set, but then you can adjust your minimum. You can say never go below this amount, and it sounds like was the current monthly price that it was saying this is the monthly price that we're going to use, that was too low.
Yes.
Okay.
think it was like $70, 70, 75, something like that.
Okay.
And the garage usually rents, I think, like 150, 140, something like that.
Okay. So you say it was a garage space that you have?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what have you rented out? Like, if you think about the past few renters you've had, what is the price that you're typically um, getting rented at?
I think 150. I think so. Something around there, 150, 180. I don't quite remember, but I can check on the app. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big difference. I wonder what's going on.
And it's just because might be just the location, to be honest. Just because it's close to the airport, people want it.
Oh, interesting.
So location is, I think, very important. There's other places that I have in Ogden, but those don't rent out. They're not close to a a place that is people needing needing, like an airport or things that people need
Right.
more.
Right. Cool. All right, that's it. I'll let you go. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that maybe we didn't cover that you want to give feedback to our team that we want to consider?
No, I think you guys are building an amazing product. I've been using it since a while now, and a couple years, and I think you guys are building a pretty amazing product.
Great. Would you be willing to kind of do something like this again? We don't reach out a lot, but maybe, I don't know, 2, 3 times a year. Is this type of thing something you'd be willing to do again?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. Antonio, I really appreciate it. Let me just double check the email I've got on file for you. Let's see, Antonio H Saucedo at gmail.com.
Yes, that's the correct email.
Okay. Um, After this, I'll send you an email just with like a summary of the notes that I took, feedback that I got from you, maybe some links to some resources that you might find helpful, and then I've got a gift card code for Amazon. I think it's $25. So you can use that if when you go into Amazon and with anything that you purchase, when you check out, you can then input that code, and then that amount would be applied to your purchase. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so I'll include that as well. Great, Antonio. Hope you have a good week.
You too.
Yep, we'll see you.
Thanks.